And no matter what I'm doing, if it's even string skipping, as you can see, it all comes from here. So something I want to recommend is you don't grip the pick too tight, and that goes into my next subject I'd like to talk about, which is how I hit the string. And I think that's very important. Kind of a misconception among guitar players is that anyone that plays with any degree of technique or speed, they must be playing light to get that sort of get that speed in there. That could be true, but a lot of times what you're hearing is someone really digging in. And the reason why is this. When you have all your effects and your gain and your phaser and everything else, you really need to hit that string to get it really articulate through the amp. Also, it really shows if you're not hitting. So in other words, what a lot of times what will happen is someone will learn a scale and they'll play it like this. And I'm not really making a comment on how slow, because I'm going to talk about how slow playing really benefits fast playing in a second. But they play very light. And basically, they'll say that they're trying to be nimble and light on their feet, but what it really is, I think, is as they're playing light, they're thinking, if I mess up right now, no one's going to be able to hear me, okay? So you really have to commit to the note. In fact, if I turn my amp off, and I'm sure the mic here will pick it up, you can actually hear me picking the string. Because I think that translates then to actually when you have the gain on. And you can hear it. In the mic, even like that. I think it's important to really dig in and play on two fronts. One, it sounds better. The note really rings true. Now, don't misinterpret playing harder and articulating the note for beating the note. There's a right and a wrong way to hit it. And I mean, you don't, that's the wrong way right there. You just want to hit it. You want to be very relaxed with the pick, but you want to get a good hit on it. Also, what comes into play on this is what kind of strings and what kind of picks I use. I use 10 through 46 strings, and I use these really ultra heavy duty Jim Dunlop 2.0 picks. They're the Delrin picks. Normally they're purple, but I have customized picks, so this should be a purple pick, but it's blue to match the guitar. So the reason why I use these things don't bend at all. The reason why is this, is when you're playing, you want as much accuracy as possible. You want to definitely, when you hit a note, you want to hit the note. You don't want it to slide around. So if I use light strings, what happens is, if my finger's a string, there's a lot of give in the string. And to me, that's not good. Especially couple that with a light or medium pick, and you have the pick and the string bending, and there's all sort of inaccuracies, and there's a lag, and it's dragging. So it's not good. It's not accurate. So for me, I want the heaviest pick they make, which is this, which there's absolutely no give. And I want a string that, for me, is heavy enough that as soon as I hit it, the pick is immediately off, but still I'm able to stretch it. So would use 11s or 12s, but I do so much stretching that I would just tear my fingers up. So either I kind of suck it up and learn how to deal with the pain in my fingers, or I'm just going to stay with 10s. So I think I'm going to stay with 10s. So that's basically a review of my picking technique. Now, something I like to talk about is my fingerstyle technique, which is, as most of you can see, is basically revolving around hiding this pick, okay, and getting to it. Or the other place besides this to this, and that's where I put it, is this. Right there is the best pick holder ever. So you're playing. So, right here and here. Now, when I'm playing with my fingers, I have nails on these 3 fingers, and I have a short thumbnail. So I can definitely. I can get all of them. I can roll them if I wanted. I get 2 of them. So that is my picking technique for picking as well as finger picking. I always get asked what I do for warming up before a show or recording session, and it's a pretty simple procedure, nothing complex. A lot of people have these crazy warm-up exercise routines or anything like that. For me, it's very, very simple. I just want to get the blood going to my hands, get everything loose and limbered up. I did have some problems a few years ago with tendonitis in my thumb because what I would do is I'd get to the gig, not warm up, get on stage and wail away, and all of a sudden my hand is the size of a balloon, and I realize that I can't do that anymore. So what I do is just very simple stuff. I play very slow, and I also play just very, very simple shapes, nothing exotic or exciting. So for instance, one of my favorite ones is this. Take 6 notes out of a scale. So my scales are situated 3 notes per string, so it could be any 6 notes, or it could be any 9 notes, just any grouping of notes. So let's take A major. And I simply go up and down the scale, up and down the grouping. I go up, maybe up into another mode. Something like that. That really starts to get everything loosened up. I'll just run through modes and scales. Just trying to loosen it up. I have something I call the V exercise, whereas you'll take a 6-note pattern and you'll kind of cross it. So you have a V here and you have a V here. So what you're doing is this. You have this. That's very good for alternate picking too. Also throwing some palm muting in there. Something like that. Now, as far as warming up, sometimes warming up and practicing are the same thing to me. So what I'll do is I want to keep both hands, I want to keep them together and I want to keep them synchronized. Because what happens is, if one hand gets too fast, either one of them, then they're not synchronized, and then you're kind of just not playing. It's a lot of this. In fact, go into any music store around the world on a Saturday afternoon, and there's a million guys doing it. All right, we want to avoid that at all costs. So what we want is we want both hands synchronized to each other. So as far as warming up or practicing, what we're aiming for is them playing together. Because what happens is, if you don't have them together when they're slow, or without the amp, or whatever pattern you're doing. Then what happens when you speed it up, they're really not together. So you're keeping them together. Also, this brings up a point of when you're practicing, you want to be sure that you're practicing correctly. Because if you have a bad technique, maybe both hands aren't synchronized together, a multitude of other issues, what happens is you're ingraining that bad habit in your playing. So before you start practicing, you want to be sure that you really know what you're doing and you know what you're aiming for as far as what you want to get out of your practice, and you're playing it correctly. Because what's going to happen is you're going to ingrain bad habits into your playing, and you're practicing bad habits and ingraining them instead of ingraining and practicing good habits. So it's very wise to take a second, really know what you're aiming for, and then go towards that when you're practicing. Because practicing could be very good and beneficial, and practicing could also be harmful if you do it wrong. So just be careful with it.